In Part 2 of the e-learning module, we'll look at a case and use the literature to find information to support a clinical decision. As you go through your preclinical courses, you'll learn and practice the problem-oriented approach to diagnosis. We will go through an overview of this process for this case, but we'll begin our literature search from the point of having a diagnosis but needing information about treatment options. Dolly is a 2-year-old female spayed Springer Spaniel. The owners are finding urine on the couch and the kitchen floor when they come home from work. In addition, Dolly's dog bed smells like urine. The owners have had Dolly for about 6 months. They obtained her from an elderly relative who moved to a long-term care facility. Dolly has adjusted pretty well into the household, but she and the owner's cat do not get along. She is eating well and has actually gained some weight since arriving at the new home. She is active and has lots of energy. She is vaccinated and on heartworm and flea preventive. During a physical exam, you find that Dolly is bright, alert, and responsive, and is well hydrated. She weighs 29 kilograms and has a body condition score of 4 out of 5. Her temperature is 101.6 degrees, pulse is 120 BPM, and respirations are 30 per minute. She has normal heart and lung sounds, and her abdomen palpates normally, though it's hard to get a good feel since she's a bit chunky. Her bladder is small. Peripheral lymph nodes are normal, coat is clean, and skin looks healthy. Eyes, ears, nose, throat are normal. She has normal vulvar conformation, but there is some reddish staining of the hair around her vulva. Normal rectal palpation, urethra feels smooth and flat. Brief orthopedic and neurologic examinations are normal. Based on this information, you develop a problem list and work with the urine found in the house as a pivot problem. That gives you a differential diagnosis of urinary sphincter mechanism incompetence, or USMI, ectopic ureters, loss of house training or behavioral problem, PU-PD-related problems, polyuria, and possible urinary tract infection or overactive bladder. You conduct several diagnostic tests to rule out diagnoses, including observing Dolly's urinations, urinalysis, urine culture, and blood pressure. The owners decline CPC and serum chemistry. Your interpretation of these results is that there is no evidence of UTI or polyuria because of the high urinary specific gravity. There's no evidence of systemic disease, and that narrows it down to a behavioral problem, urinary sphincter mechanism incompetence, ectopic ureters, or overactive bladder. After additional testing, you believe Dolly's diagnosis is USMI. We'll use the literature to help make a treatment decision. Your textbooks and professors suggest several treatment options for USMI: phenylpropanolamine, DES, and Premarin. Which is the best treatment option for Dolly? We can use the PICO model to help define our clinical question and break it into search terms. We can define our patient and problem as a 2-year-old female spayed Springer Spaniel with urinary incontinence due to urinary sphincter mechanism incompetence. Our intervention would be phenylpropanolamine. Our comparison interventions would be DES and Premarin. And our outcome would be the resolution or management of symptoms of urinary incontinence with minimal side effects. Breaking out our search terms using the PICO model, our clinical question then would be, in a 2-year-old female spayed Springer Spaniel with urinary incontinence due to USMI, should we treat with phenylpropanolamine, DES, or Premarin to provide the best resolution of symptoms with minimal side effects? We can then take these concepts and break them into terms and synonyms that we can use in our search. Chances are that we don't need to use all of these search terms. We don't usually include outcome terms in searches. Remember, they're useful for assessing the relevance of search results, performing a critical appraisal, and implementing a decision. Terms from the signalment, like a dog's breed and whether it has been spayed, are often useful when developing a diagnosis. In this case, knowing that Dolly was spayed probably helped you with your diagnosis of USMI. However, we would probably leave these terms out when we're looking for information about treatment. Next, we can convert the terms we select into a format a database will understand, and this gives us the search string at the bottom. Note that you don't have to search for all of these terms at once. You might find it easier, for example, to make a comparison if you run 3 separate searches looking for information on each of the interventions separately. Because we're looking for current clinical studies suggesting a treatment for USMI, we should search for research articles published recently. If possible, we'd like to find study types from the top of the evidence pyramid. Research databases like PubMed or CAB Abstracts would be good choices in this case. We'll begin at the VetMed Library's website to get to these databases and conduct our searches. From the VetMed Library's homepage, we can scroll down to access PubMed. When you enter terms in the PubMed search box, it will search for your terms in all fields. title, abstract, medical subject headings, etc. It will also convert your terms into mesh terms, which lets the database find articles that use different terms for the concepts you're searching for. You can see what PubMed did by clicking See More under the search details on the results screen. You can edit the terms if necessary. For instance, we may not want to search for urinary and incontinence as separate terms, and we can delete those terms and rerun the search if we want. Remember that if you click on the name of an article, you can see more information about it. This includes mesh terms, which you can use to revise your search, and the abstract, which can help you decide if you want to spend time reading an article. As long as you got to PubMed via the OSU Library's website, you'll also see links to the full text, either in the form of links to the publisher's website or as Find It links to the library's full text holdings. This search returned 33 results. That's a reasonable number of articles to look through and work with. Many times you'll get more results than that and want to narrow down what you see. You can use PubMed's filters to do this. The filters that display by default are not necessarily the ones that are most useful for finding clinical veterinary studies. We'll talk about the article types later. The set of filters text availability doesn't apply to us at Ohio State because we have much more full text available than PubMed knows about. The publication dates may be useful if you're specifically looking for recent information. The species filter is really just one species, humans, and the rest of the animal kingdom, which is especially unhelpful in veterinary medicine. An alternative can be found under the Show Additional Filters link. Under Subjects, if you click that link and then select Subjects, you'll see a new set of filters, which by default shows only cancer, AIDS, and systematic reviews. If you click the More link below these filters, you'll get the option to select Veterinary Science, which will then display as a filter option. You haven't actually applied the filter to your search at this point. You can then click this option to limit your results to studies of animals as veterinary patients as opposed to model animals of human disease. Note that you might not want to do this if you're looking for research in oncology, for instance, where the emphasis on translational medicine makes human studies useful to veterinary practitioners as well. As with the subject filter, there are many more options under article types than are displayed by default. Clicking More will give you the option to display additional article type filters, such as meta-analyses and systematic reviews. If we wanted to limit our search to meta-analyses, systematic reviews, and randomized controlled trials, we could select each of these article types and display them. There are 4 randomized controlled trials that meet our search criteria, and you might want to emphasize these top-tier articles in your critical appraisal. If your keyword search returns too many results, you can try searching in the mesh terms directly. This has the advantage of only finding those articles that are about your topic, not just those that use your term somewhere, and you'll retrieve fewer, more relevant results. You can search the mesh terms by selecting mesh from the drop-down next to the search bar. If you're doing this following another search, you might want to clear your filters first. When I type dogs into a mesh search, instead of returning articles, it returns related subject headings. We would want the first result, simply dogs, which refers to domestic dogs. We can check the box next to dogs and then click Add to Search Builder on the right side of the screen to save this mesh term while we search for others. Next, we can type urinary incontinence into the mesh search box at the top of the page. If we click the first result, urinary incontinence, we can view subheadings and related terms. In this case, we might want to select the drug therapy subheading and add that to our search box with AND to search both dogs and urinary incontinence drug therapy. There's also a veterinary subheading, which we can add to our search with AND. We can continue adding mesh terms, or we can stop here and click Search PubMed. A quick way to limit your search to articles that are clinically relevant is to use PubMed's Clinical Queries tool. If you click on the PubMed icon at the upper left part of the screen, you'll return to PubMed's homepage, which includes several links. Under PubMed Tools, the 5th link is Clinical Queries. If we plug our original search into the Clinical Queries search box, the tool searches PubMed and automatically filters the results to match the clinical study categories of etiology, diagnosis, therapy, prognosis, and clinical prediction guides. It also displays any systematic reviews that meet the search criteria, as well as medical genetics articles. In this case, we see 25 results under therapy. If you see more results than you can work with, you can narrow down the scope of the search using the Scope drop-down menu. PubMed doesn't index everything because its emphasis is on human medicine, and it may omit useful articles in veterinary medicine. So it's usually a good idea to look for information using more than one source. CAB Abstracts is a good choice because it is part of their mission to be comprehensive in veterinary medicine. You will almost always find articles in CAB that weren't indexed in PubMed, and vice versa. VetMed Resource is an interface for CAB Abstracts that's designed for veterinary practitioners. It includes all of the content that you'd get from a CAB Abstract search, but also includes news articles, reviews, and data sheets. You will have access to VetMed Resource via OSU's Veterinary Medicine Library at no cost for at least 2 years after you graduate. Searching in the CAB Abstracts and VetMed Resource interfaces works the same way. We can plug our search into VetMed Resource, but we should make sure to make a few small changes. Unlike PubMed, most databases, including CAB, don't automatically translate search terms into subject headings, so they'll take what you enter more literally. Since that's the case, we want to put quotation marks around our phrases. This search in VetMed Resource results in 5 data sheets, which don't look like they're necessarily relevant, but it picked up the term DES. 13 full-text articles. Again, OSU has many more full-text articles available than CAB knows about, but you will be able to access this when you're in practice. And 64 total articles under the abstracts. That's double the number we found in PubMed, so it's likely we found some additional relevant articles. We can do advanced searching, including limits by article type and language, by clicking through to CAB Direct and repeating our search, which will help us narrow down the articles to those we want to read and critically appraise. This is the end of the e-learning module. I want to remind you that you can always reach me with questions by email or by phone, or by stopping by my office in the VetMed Library.